All right, we can call this meeting to order, 5:30, September 20th.
Sorry, calendar on Apple.
Sorry. Technology problems. Okay. I think we're ready for roll call.
Let the record show that all commissioners are present except for Vice Chair Ritter and Commissioner O'Halloran.
Okay, we're going to stand and do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Manager Norgard, I don't believe we have any special presentations or proclamations tonight, right?
We do not.
Okay. Now, are any of you here to speak or just to observe? Just to observe, okay. And so no other oral communications,
There are
correct?
no
Okay.
oral communications.
Are there any changes to the agenda? I don't believe so.
There are no changes to the agenda.
Okay, so we have to go way back to approve the June 2022 regular meeting minutes. So hopefully everyone had a chance to review those. And I'm happy to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Oh, nice. There he is. Good, how are you?
I think we're waiting on a couple more.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
Okay, the motion passes.
Okay, so now we're going to, we need to approve the August 9th, the tour meetings, meeting notes.
I'll make a motion.
To approve them.
I'll second.
Second.
The motion passes.
Okay, so we're going to start working through updating the work plan. Ooh, that is small. Oh, there it is, okay. Okay, so item number 1, our annual tour, which was a great success, I will say, but Commissioners Warren and O'Halloran, I'd like to hear any thoughts you have. And then Manager Norgard, did you want to discuss doing the parks tour as well right now?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
If you guys have some comments first.
I will start, and I wanted to add that this particular tour, we had more discussion and commentary than any of the other ones I'd been on, and I thought that was really good. In particular, we talked a lot about the junior lifeguards program, and we had some really great ideas, and that continued to the community center. For whatever reason, we were really curious and asked lots of questions, and so I thought that was really, really cool. And overall, it was a great tour. And that's all I have to add. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I know they're not here, but thank you to the lifeguard staff who spoke to us and presented to us, and along with the community center staff. They're really fantastic. I thought the tours also were very good. And a lot of questions were asked and answers given, so I learned a lot on those tours and absolutely look forward to the next round.
Go ahead, Commissioner Winters.
So there was a lot of great dialogue throughout the course of that day. How are we going to think about some of the suggestions that came out of that to maybe try to encourage some of those operational improvements that were observed for that day? Have we thought about next steps as it relates to that? Because I think there were some really good ideas that could be beneficial to staff, to the community, to everybody. So I wasn't sure what, if any, thoughts we had on how to proceed next with that.
My thoughts, and Manager Norgard, please jump in if you feel differently, but that would be to go probably directly to Manager Staton and see what the appetite is for our involvement in some of those and continue to see how we can be helpful. I think there were a couple of low-hanging fruit that stood out for most of us, but I'd go through Manager Staton and see what we can do to support pushing some of those initiatives forward, or at least keeping the conversations going.
Okay, and then who wants to be the liaison on that, or
What about you?
me?
Would you like to?
I'd be happy to. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure.
I think you can, well, again, please interject, but I think you can just email her directly.
Yeah, this should be focused on work plan items, and that really falls outside of our current work plan. So I think working with Manager Staton directly would be best for now, unless there was, a bigger push to change the work plan.
Okay, I'll reach out and see how that dialogue goes. I'm
Okay.
sure it'll go great.
Yeah, thank you. And then I'll just say before just to segue into your piece, this is my third year on this commission. It was my first time doing a true rec tour. In the past, because we've had to consolidate the parks and the recs, we've always done it together, and it was so beneficial to split them up this way. And I know historically this is how it's been done, but most of us have not experienced that, and it was a really great look at just really focus on the rec side, because I think Parks and Rec, the rec tends to just get funneled through the parks, and the parks tend to get a lot more airtime, especially within the context of how most of us interact in the community. So I thought it was really great to split it up that way, and Manager Staton did a really fantastic job of highlighting a lot of those rec programs. So I thank you guys for all the hard work that went into thinking about how to present all of this to us in the best way, and I'm really excited to hear from you about Parks Tour.
Sure. Well, it's really great to hear all the positive feedback, and my competitive nature dictates that I'm hoping that the Parks Tour is even better this year. And so with that, I have a proposal for a potential Parks Tour. This would be a standalone, and it would be something a little bit different than probably what you've experienced in the past, or maybe even other commissions have as well. And so proposing to focus on native restoration and open space within the city's parks. We could visit Cottonwood Creek to tour the restoration work that's currently underway through the Habitat Stewardship Program. Then we could head over to Moonlight Beach Parcels, where we are anticipating that the next phase of the Habitat Stewardship Program would take place. So in park jargon, that's essentially the area where we have the tennis court at the Moonlight Parcels, and Cottonwood Creek runs through there. And then from there, we can head over to Beacons to view the active restoration on the bluff and discuss next steps as we're nearing the 1-year mark on that, and we have more work to come. And so we can discuss timing, because I don't have a proposed date based on where we are right now. But for the time of the tour, I would propose that in lieu of meeting, we could meet at 5 o'clock right at Cottonwood Creek, do a call to order, and then work through those 3 sites. But I would also say that it'd be worth gauging where we are in the work plan to see if we should have this as an additional meeting or a in lieu of meeting. And I'm open to either one of those and welcome your thoughts and feedback on that proposal.
Is it okay to work through the work plan and then discuss this again before we move on?
I think so.
Okay, is everyone okay with that, based on where we are? Okay. So then let's move on to goal number 2, and then we'll just make a note to circle back and see how we feel. So item number 2 is attend city-sponsored events serving as city ambassadors by welcoming, meeting, and greeting the public and serving in a volunteer capacity, conducting various event duties as needed. So if my notes are correct, then there are no September events. Is that correct, Manager Norgard? I know we have the calendar at the bottom too, if it's easy enough to pull that. Thank you. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no events in September.
But coming back strong in October.
Yeah,
And
so
then-
we do have EcoFest and Movies in the Park.
When do we need to start preparing for the holiday parade as a commission, would you say? Sooner rather than later, or it's still too early?
I actually went to apply to be in the parade yesterday,
Oh, amazing, okay.
and I was told that we don't need to apply.
Oh.
Which I need to confirm, because it didn't sound right. And at our next meeting, I'll bring out some sheets, because doing this via email was a super pain.
Okay,
So be ready for volunteer
for next meeting,
sheets at the
okay.
next meeting. We'll be prepared.
Okay,
I'm pretty much on the same page as we were last year. 'Cause
Okay.
It seemed to work out very,
Yeah.
very well.
anything else from a staff perspective on the holiday parade that we should be?
This will be my first time this early in the parade. I attended last year, but it was like my first week of work.
Oh, how fun, okay.
So we can check in with Nick on where we are with preparations and what the appropriate time is to start gearing up for that.
Okay,
Is there a theme yet? Anyone? You know?
There is.
Is it secret? Is it classified?
And I don't
believe
remember
the
what it is
theme
off the
was
top of my head.
Encinitas tradition, isn't it?
Something like that,
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Oh.
I thought e-bikes would be like right in line with Encinitas tradition now.
Crazy
Okay.
e-bikes, yeah.
awesome. So we'll have to get the theme for the next meeting, and then we can start talking about planning. So thank you, Commissioner Hanson, for being on top of that. Appreciate it. Okay. Nate, do you mind bringing us back to the work plan, please? Oh, David does. Oh, Manager Norgard, thank you. Okay, so number 3, identify guest speakers for monthly meetings. Do we have any updates on this goal?
I had one that I just threw out to the group just like an hour ago. So if you haven't seen your emails, it's okay. I happened to be by Joe Mosca today at lunch, and he was informing me about some activities over at San Diego Union High School District. And evidently they've got some more funds available, and they're further along with a plan for an aquatic center, and they've reached out to the city, and that's kind of at a different stage than it was when we last visited it. So he suggested that we give it some time because we've got an election coming up, some changes are going to be made. But I think the only slot we have left is for February for a speaker. So I just, kind of plant that in the back of our minds for something that might be a good speaker opportunity for next February, or might not. It's kind of too early to tell. Does that make sense?
Yeah, go ahead.
For our guests, the person she referred to is one of our city council persons. So put that in context.
Thank you. Is there any other thoughts or feedback? Or it sounds like we've got a great lineup of guest speakers with only one opening. Okay, amazing. Nice, good work. All right, well, that's a great update. So anything else on that item? Okay, great. So moving to the special projects. So the first is best practices for diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I can give a quick update on this. Manager Staten has been forwarding us a lot of really great articles and kind of reading sources for us just to begin better understanding what problems exist within the diversity, equity, and inclusion space within various municipalities and how they're handling it. And what I've noticed so far is that a lot of these readings really relate more to rec centers than they do to community spaces. And I don't fully understand and appreciate the nuances between, but in what I've read, they are different. And so I read a bunch of the articles Manager Staten sent over and asked a bunch of questions just about, things ranging from have we had people reaching out and asking for different type of programming? Are we serving the community in a way that's representative of the demographics that are part of our community? And what was interesting on that question is she said she wasn't sure. So it sounds like we collect demographic information, but it's not something that we are at least publicly using. And so something that I thought might be an area for us to really do a kind of a better audit of how we're serving the community is to overlay program demographics with community demographics and seeing if they're aligning, at least directionally, with the community at large, just to make sure there's no large segment of the population that we're inadvertently excluding from programming or opportunities. It sounds like we're really fortunate in that our community center is able to respond to requests where they are needed more around probably inclusion, but there's an ongoing conversation, and Manager Staten's been really, really educated and helpful in just kind of helping us figure out how we're doing on this front. So more to come, but it's been a really good start, and I'd be happy to hear if there are any questions or thoughts that the commission has. Okay, great. So then goal number 5 was volunteer recruitment and implementation. So Commissioners Warren and Hanson, if you have any updates for us.
I did talk to Manager Staten during the tour, and she said that the volunteer program had just launched, I believe. So I'm kind of waiting to get together with her to discuss the program, because I haven't seen it, so I don't really have much to report on that myself.
My understanding is they don't have the software yet to work with the volunteer program, and that's still being implemented. Is that correct, David?
I'd have to double check on that and get back to you.
Okay.
Do we have any information on that from a staff perspective, or no?
I do not.
Okay.
But I can follow up.
Okay. So then we'll just have to sync with Manager Staten, and I guess, is she the point person on this?
She is.
Okay. To figure out how we can continue to support, and assuming they're ready for that. Okay, what's the next? Oh, PEP. I hear there's some exciting changes over at PEP, and we are anxiously awaiting those updates. So I'll turn it over to Commissioners Warren and Hanson.
Okay. I don't.
I guess he's leaving it to the new president of PEP.
Yeah, congratulations.
Well, thank you. It's the first time I've been president of anything other than my household. We're still in a transition phase. The former president has been a little bit difficult to work with in terms of turning over the documents and getting me on board as a check signer. And I'm working on developing a board of directors still.
Okay.
So it's reboot is like on step A. So
But it's happening.
it is happening.
So thank you
Yes.
for your involvement.
Thank you.
Are there any requests of PEP outstanding or not at the moment?
As
I'm
far
not-
as projects?
Yes.
I don't believe so.
And I'm not aware of any either. I know over the summer concert tour, I sat at all 4 concerts hoping for people to come forward and ask for information, but just got to listen to a lot of good music and not many questions. But no, that hasn't been really anything yet.
Okay, okay.
And President-elect Hanson is really doing a good job looking for board members, and it's tough. And so I just wanted to commend him for his efforts because it's a challenge. So
I'm sure. Well, thank you. On behalf of the community, thank you. Manager Norgard?
And when you guys are fully up and running, it'd be good to meet with staff and talk about potential future projects. I did have a call with a resident this week who had some thoughts and said, when PEP is up and running, it'd be good for you all to get connected. So I think she will likely be reaching out as well.
It's not too early to contact me directly. I mean, I can certainly start
Yeah.
with the ball running. And I need something to get some momentum going, besides selecting and getting board members on board.
Sure.
But also getting projects would be great too.
Great.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you, just curious if you're aware, do they have kind of funds available to them from previous either fundraisers or things like that, or is it kind of almost a reboot from a PEP perspective, do you know?
It's a reboot, and right now there's about $1,000 on hand, and I think their last spend was about $2,000, and I want to say it was about a year and a half ago. So with the president, he's had some health issues, so he hasn't been real active with it. So we're getting that going again.
So it's not like the old president had classified information that he wasn't sure or anything.
Not at all. No, one of the things about the not-for-profits is the filing requirements are pretty onerous.
Yeah, so it's a
And,
501c3.
Yes, it
Right.
is.
Do you know, so you have to make, is it current with like its 990s and those types of,
First thing I did.
okay. got it.
Yes, so there was a delinquency with the Attorney General and a delinquency with the Secretary of State. Things were up to date.
Great. Well, best of luck with that, and thank you for taking that on. I think it's going to be very beneficial for the community. So, yep.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great, and we'll give you a little time, but one of the things that's always worked in the past is to have a fundraising campaign for something, to spur some interest, and I'm sure that that somebody's going to come up with something. Just wait.
We still need that thing.
I think we can help.
Yeah. Is there anything that we as a commission can do to help support?
I need board members.
Okay.
And some of it falls into the diversity
Yeah?
situation.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm having a little bit of a struggle with the diversity part of it.
Okay.
I'm also having a struggle with people saying yes. There's a lot of the people I know in the community that are volunteering in the community are pretty well overextended.
Yeah.
And have very little interest in, doing more than
One
there
more
are, which
thing,
is a
right.
lot.
Right.
The people I have asked are like the guy who's running EcoFest, for example.
Oh, John?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And a person sitting here too.
Okay.
But it's difficult to find people outside of my volunteering community that I know.
Okay.
So
if we know anyone who'd be good on a board,
yes,
to pass that your way.
right.
Okay.
I'm looking for friends.
Okay.
I was going to say, do you happen to take high school students on the volunteer board?
It might be beneficial to speak during open comments either at the next city council meeting, or perhaps you can get on the agenda there if you wanted to make a small presentation. So I think either of those two could be good potential outlets for you to try to really get the message out once in, at one fell swoop. So I think you can go at any city council meeting at the beginning with just open discussion, or if you want more time, you'd probably have to get agendized onto that, which then you get a little bit more time, I think. So something just to think about. I'm happy to discuss that further with you later if you need it.
I think I need a little more glue before I do that. There's really nothing cohesive to go and speak to city council about just yet. So we need a thing. And, there's a few things I have in mind, but I'm just not ready for that large step just yet.
That's a great idea, to use that as a platform to note, just let the public know you're looking for board members, so when you're ready, yeah, it's a good idea, yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to item number 7, research and planning for the outdoor adult fitness equipment. Well, Commissioners Winters and Elliott, any updates?
Yeah, I can provide an update.
Okay, great.
Vice Chair Extraordinaire Ross Ritter and I met with staff, and we discussed some potential grant opportunities that were presented. And we've begun working on a priority list of potential site locations. In addition, the Ad hoc Commission is going to try to meet with certain hired consultants to offer suggestions about fitness equipment and locations within specified parks once those are determined. And in addition, we are just continuing to identify opportunities for the inclusion of adult fitness equipment with kind of the scheduled playground equipment replacement where it seems appropriate.
Okay.
So that's the full update there.
Do we have any updates on what playground equipment, like where opportunities may next present themselves within the community?
So we're working through one playground replacement now at Scott Valley Park. We're substantially complete with all of the design for that, and we're working through permitting.
Okay.
And we do keep a list of all of our playgrounds and the years that they need to be retrofitted. In addition to that, we have recently applied for some funding from the state, and if we are awarded that funding, that will kind of change the order of some of the parks that we retrofit.
Okay.
And we should find out about that in the next couple of months.
Okay.
And so I think that there's some opportunities there if we're awarded that funding to include fitness equipment. And we can bring more information back when we know more about the grants.
Okay. So is it safe to, or fair to say that the biggest kind of current hurdle is funding?
Well, I think that's always a hurdle, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so. And then with the potential of certain grant funds coming in over the next few months, hopefully maybe on the short side, or then that would certainly accelerate, if it's within the general plan for that park, would accelerate sort of the implementation of it. So
Okay.
that's potentially very good news, but it's a little bit of a wait and see to see if funding's available for that right now.
Okay.
So.
Did you have something to add, Manager Norgard?
It's, with regard to fitness equipment, it's a combination of funding and applicability to the site.
Yeah.
So is the site really meant for that? Was the park intended for those uses? And does it fit within the community? And is that a good use of space planning? We have had several really good conversations about areas where we think that is appropriate for inclusion. And so when we know more about this grant funding, we'll be able to kind of continue that. But I'm most excited in the short term for the work that the ad hoc is doing to identify and prioritize different types of fitness equipment that we could use in different locations.
Oh, cool.
So
Okay.
that as we work through the sites, whether it's associated with the grant funding or not, we will have these options that we can talk with our hired consultants with and figure out the best way to include them in the projects.
And one other idea that came out of our meeting that we had with staff was as the CRT, as the Coastal Rail Trail gets further designed and built out, there may be opportunities to kind of include and incorporate it as it's in the planning stage, as opposed to potentially adding it once it's been designed and been built. And I think staff was potentially going to inquire about where they are in the remaining design
Yeah,
stages,
sure.
if I'm not
So
mistaken.
Sandag's the lead agency on the design for that, and we've reached out to them. We're playing a bit of phone tag now, but I think we should hear in the next couple days.
What's the next phase of the CRT, like location-wise?
It'll pick up at Santa Fe and head north.
Like on the same path it's on, like on the east of the railroad tracks?
Yes.
Oh, cool. CRT is Coastal Rail Trail. It's a nice paved trail that they put in just east of the railroad tracks from Chesterfield to Santa Fe Drive. It's about 1.5 miles-ish paved, really nice, and they're going to continue extending it. Okay, cool. Well, that's progress. So well done.
Those are the ideas. Okay.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Elliott. I know you've been down and out for a while, but
No, that's
anything
okay.
else?
I have to thank my fellow commissioners for attending the meeting that I couldn't attend. But I think we're in a good position, and I think once we've had a little time and with Manager Norgaard's help, sort through the applicability and funding, get a little further along, there may be a window of opportunity for PEP to step in and raise some funding for a piece of equipment too. So it's just probably further down the line than Commissioner Hanson needs right now, but we all have to be patient.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, you guys. So then we'll move on to item number 8, which is specifically the Trails Master Plan. And I know a big part of this goal is around supporting the outer spatial launch. So the last I had heard from Nick, he was inundated, so kind of doing the best he could to get this launched. But I haven't heard from him that it has launched. So could we start with just an update on that, please?
Yep, sure. So we're anticipating that launching in October now.
Okay.
So Nick has been diligently working through that, making sure that our content's right and chasing out bugs. But we are excited to potentially roll that out in October.
Okay, awesome. So our little ad hoc went on a field trip last week to a trail, but do either of you want to speak first?
Sure, I will speak first. It was quite fun. We went to Manchester Preserve, and I think it was an hour or maybe 59 minutes. we hiked, and we covered, we talked a lot about the signage. It was nice to go into a different area. At the time, Vice Chair Lappin and Commissioner Ritter and I did Spooks Canyon last year. And it was very productive. We talked about outer spatial. One of the things I mentioned was the need or the hope that surrounding cities also come on board. And the Manchester Preserve is a park. It's managed by the city, but it's owned by the Center for Land Use Management, I believe. And they don't allow bikes, but we saw a few bikes cruising, regular bikes. And we discussed the maps and the need. I think the city maps are due for an update, but hopefully outer spatial can kind of cover that. So that's all I have.
So the only thing that I'll just kind of add on to that was we did get lost a bunch out there, which is both embarrassing but also eye-opening. So I think that outer spatial is a good step, but I do still think there's opportunities for us to do better signage on the actual trails. And one of the things that came up is like the steps up to the top of the canyon, one of the steps was loose. And I was like, well, who do you notify about this? And it's you? Oh, okay. I feel like I should have known that. But in the moment, I took a picture, but I didn't know what to do with it. So we're responsible for any issue on that trail. Is that correct?
We work collaboratively with the Center for Natural Lands Management on those.
Okay, but we can go through you.
Yep.
So just a suggestion is maybe just have something out there. Maybe there was and I missed it, but a trail that's largely dirt and sand that is also sloped, it may not be a bad idea just to have something out there to say, notice any issues, notify us. And because I think there's probably a lot of community input, maybe too much, but things where it comes down to like safety issues or water damage or whatnot, it may not be a bad idea to just let people know how to report those things.
Yep, we definitely want to know so that we can
Okay.
get someone out there to repair that.
Okay. And then, just signage. Like, I think there's a lot of opportunity just to notify you where the trail is, because you could see there's a lot of paths that people have taken that are not trail. And you see how easily it happens, because we did it a couple times, inadvertently, but also to the detriment of the area you're trying to protect. So I'm not sure if that's something that would be you or Nick Buck or somebody else, but I think having some additional markers out there would be a really low-hanging fruit with a big impact.
So I think it'd probably be good for the ad hoc to meet with staff.
Okay.
And really look at those trails in the map and see what needs to be done. And then we can also liaise with our partners just to make sure is there additional barriers that are needed, if there are a lot of rogue trails to kind of mitigate some of that. So I think that's a good conversation.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, I think that there was also one trail which wasn't really a trail at the top coming down, and that one actually probably should have more of a barrier so that people don't think that that's an
The
exit.
power line, you mean?
Yes, underneath that power line on the way down. So there's probably a few items that unfortunately we'd have to go back out to
Yeah, that's okay.
identify exactly
Okay.
where those are. But there's just a couple things that probably could make it a little bit improved. But it's a very nice trail, and I think, a real jewel actually of the city. And once you get up to that height, to the top, you get wonderful views. So it's great, and I think we can make just some pretty modest improvements, which would be, like you
Go a
said,
long way, yeah.
a high impact.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll take it as an action item for myself to set up time to just talk to staff about that. And I think our goal as an ad hoc is to continue, while we're waiting for outer spatial especially, just to continue to use the trails and just kind of experience it as community members. And anywhere that we see an item or have a question, it's probably representative of what other people are experiencing as well. So discussing with you guys initially the best way to report feedback or share thoughts would be probably make it easier for you all to receive it and us to deliver it. So I'll set that up.
Yeah, we welcome that feedback.
Okay.
In addition, just one quick update on this work plan item. Actually, we did have the Trail 95 ribbon cutting, which was fantastic. And also since then, in addition to the grant funding that we have applied for the playgrounds, we have applied for some funds through the state. We submitted for a grant for fencing along Rancho Santa Fe Road from Lone Jack to Olevenhain Pioneer Elementary to kind of add more of the fencing that you see throughout the community to kind of formalize some of those areas. That's something that's been asked for by members of the community and the Trails Coalition. So we expect to hear about that later this year. And if that's awarded, that's shovel ready, and we should be able to move on that pretty quickly.
I have a quick question on that. Did they just reach out to you all directly, the Trails Coalition? I feel like there's always requests that have come from them that I just personally have no idea about, and they're effective, whatever it is they're doing. So I'm just interested in what the communication has been historically, if it's directly to you all or if there's some other channel that.
Yeah, it's both actually in
Okay.
multiple ways. So Bob Keeley attends most of the meetings. If not, he doesn't attend all of them, but he attends many of them and is pretty well integrated with many of the members of the Trails Coalition. And then in addition to that, I will have members that reach out to me directly with questions, comments, and concerns. But yeah, we hear trail stuff all the time, and we're pretty good partners with the Trails Coalition.
Okay.
They've done a lot. You heard it at the Trail 95
Yeah.
ribbon cutting about how they've donated funds in the past and really have been instrumental in many, many trails being built. So they're a great community partner for us.
Okay.
I believe they meet quarterly with staff, is that right? Which is a good sort
Yeah.
of model for PEP. I think that's one of the reasons they have such a strong relationship.
Well, I think it's just good too for people just to be aware of how you can engage from the public sector into the reverse that, as a private citizen into the public sector effectively, because they get a lot done. They seem to have dedicated a lot of time and effort to understanding the process and working within it very effectively. Okay, so thank you for those updates. Oh, go ahead.
Just one last thing on this item. I'm not sure if our guests know what Outer Spatial is. It's our new mobile application that's getting ready to be launched with trail maps for all of Encinitas trails and hopefully some surrounding cities, right?
October of this year?
Outer Spatial.
It's probably up there in very tiny print somewhere.
Yes.
And you can actually go to outerspatial.com or download the app and see how it works in other cities that have deployed it. It's actually great, and it's not limited to just trails. So there will be information about parks, park amenities, challenges, and events. So it's really kind of a one-stop shop for parks, trails, recreation, and other cities that have rolled this out see good community engagement. And it's a great way to engage with the community and get information out, and it's much more interactive.
Thank you. Okay, so I think that's it on the work plan, but do you mind just before we go past this, can we just look at the calendar as a group again? I just think it's always at the bottom and very easy to miss. So in October, we have someone from Planning and Development coming to speak, which will be awesome. And then we have a lot of events. So just something to put on everybody's radar if you haven't looked at this, that if there are events you'd like to volunteer with or be involved with, just have a heads up of what's coming. And to save the date for December 3rd to be in the parade. Most important. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Do you want to circle back to
Oh, yes, thank you.
potential park tour and when we want to hold that?
Yes. I know, say, I'm like, I feel pretty good about where we are on things, so. The only thing I would add is the days will be getting perpetually shorter. So if our thought is we start somewhere at 5, we probably want to do this sooner rather than later.
Timing's open.
We can do it whenever.
If you're available to meet during the day, I'm available to meet during the day. It's really, I think this is part of
The
open discussion.
Okay. Any thoughts?
I think one big question was the in lieu of or not, right? And looking at October, there obviously are a lot of events lined up in October. And if we're going to do a park tour also, then we may consider in lieu of our regular meeting. But
We do have a guest speaker, though, so.
oh, planning and development. Okay.
Which we've moved in the past, but I know there's only so many meetings left that, yeah.
Is there any tie-in to the organics parks discussion and the native, like the habitat restoration work, or not really?
A little, but they have really started as two different
Okay.
things.
So, what about, being that we do have all these great guest speakers, are people open to doing it as an additional meeting? Let's start with that.
Yeah, I am.
Yes, okay,
I am. Yep.
okay. And now, is there a strong preference as to whether or not it's an evening or daytime event?
I strongly prefer daytime. I think you're going to see more activity. It does get dark sooner, so.
Well, for those who work, is that doable?
Oh, no, but, I mean, a lot of our parks aren't lit, so.
That's true. I don't know if we want to be on beacons at night.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think with the winter coming, we're going to be looking more daytime hours.
Daytime, okay. So, thoughts, October, November?
I think we're kind of stuck because daylight savings starts November 6th, so that pretty much knocks November out of the box. And
But if we do it during the day, that
yeah,
shouldn't
we can
matter.
do it during the day.
Right.
But then, if we're, October is like,
What I'd maybe
Pretty
focus
full,
on
so-
November 2, 3, or 4 before daylight savings then. So
I'm sorry, what?
November 2nd, 3rd, or 4th.
What
Oh.
about November 4th? I'm just going to throw a dart. Can't do it. Can't do it. Okay.
That's like the only day this year.
All right. What about October 28th? It's a Friday.
I will be out of town,
Okay, let's keep going.
North Carolina.
Oh, hey. Well, then
I
let's
mean, you're
see.
gone on the 27th also?
Yes, yes. that weekend.
How about the 25th?
I can do that.
I'm out.
Okay, let's find a different date. We can do this. What about, all right. We have to do this live too, don't we? We can't do it via email. Okay. What's a good day of the week for everyone? Let's start with that. Fridays work great for me. I can do a Monday
We're closed every other Friday.
all the year. It's not just a summer thing.
No, all
Oh
year.
my gosh. Okay. All right.
So is that, how about the 21st of October? Is that a closed day?
That works for me. Not,
Doesn't work for me, but I don't know if we're going to get 100%, so
no,
it's okay.
It
You know, I'm
feels
not
like we
trying-
will. All right.
How about the 14th?
14th.
I think we're dark on the 14th. Is
Okay.
that
What
right?
about the 11th? October 11th. It feels like a winner.
Love October 11th.
10/11. It feels like promising. What do we
Yeah,
say? 10/11. 10/11.
Brad? Yes.
I said one day.
It's one day.
Dan, does that, or Commissioner Halloran, does that work for you? Theoretically?
It theoretically does.
Okay. How long do we need?
Oh, wait, the 11th? No, I'm just- no.
2 hours plus or minus.
2-ish hours. If there were 2 hours in the day that we did this, is there
4 to 6.
4 to 6? Commissioner Warren, can you do that?
Yes.
Okay. So Manager Norgard, does that work for you?
Yes.
Okay, great. So Commissioner Park Tour, October 11th,
It's an
4 to 6.
example of government at work getting things done.
Note the efficiency.
And very, very inclusive. I would like to just applaud us all. So thank you. Okay.
Manager Norgard, we in the past have had a shuttle van. I think Commissioner Elliott has enjoyed that before. And I can't remember if it was budget or COVID, but it sure helps with carpooling. It's a little greener to go in one car. I don't know if you know or can look into if we could do that for this.
I can
time.
look into it. However, with the schedule of the tour, you would really only need to drive either to City Hall or Cottonwood Creek to see the first 2 sites and then Beacons. So we will see Cottonwood Creek and then the parcels by walking, and then we'll drive to Beacons.
Oh, okay, so
Should
there
we
aren't that many
e-bike it?
stops.
Yeah, we could B-cycle it.
We'll just, we'll table that for our next.
We could probably get
we can't.
B-Cycle to
This is our
support
last.
that, give us bikes, yeah.
It is kind of nice to be able to talk about everything when we're in transit. I know we're not going to be in transit very much, but it gives us more discussion time, and it's just greater camaraderie. Just saying.
So can you just let us know?
I'll follow up.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, so we won't meet again until this meeting. This will be our next get-together.
And I'll send
October
out a schedule
11th. Okay.
prior.
Okay, great. Okay, great collaboration, guys. Thank you. And thank you for reminding me. I'd already forgotten to come back to that, so thank you.
Back to me for park operations report. I mentioned to Chair Lappin before the meeting started that I was looking at my notes for when we were supposed to meet last, and the first update that I had was that Beacons reopened on June 30th. So we haven't met for a while. So far, so good. In addition to that, I wanted to bring to everyone's attention that an ad hoc of the city council members, Lyons and Hinsey, have been meeting with staff and others for a potential native plant policy. And so back in August of last year, they brought this forward and met with the Planning Commission, Environmental Commission, and Urban Forestry Advisory Committee. They met on March 31st, May 31st, and August 3rd. I would encourage everyone to go and rewatch back those meetings. So they are up on our website where all of these in city council meetings live. And really the intent is began with looking at the nexus of native plants and requirements from Planning Commission, and then how could that apply to public spaces. And so next steps, I believe, the council subcommittee will report back to council to receive with recommendations and to receive directions. I don't have a date on that. It's TBD as far as I know right now. I have not looked too far forward in the calendar, but I haven't seen that. But I think it would be of interest to everyone just to be knowledgeable that that could be coming in. And if you want to participate, find a way to do so. Additionally, we are in the process of scoping and hiring a consultant to look at the major use permit for Encinitas Community Park. And so I'm trying to find someone that's on our as-needed list that can do that work and work closely with us and planning to begin that. So more to come on that. When I have a consultant on board, I can give you a more firm timeline of when we think their scope will unfold. Many of you probably know the backstop on Field 3 at Cardiff Sports Park came down. We think likely as a result of some form of vandalism. Since that time, we had that structure demolished, and we reviewed the backstop at Field 4 and subsequently had that brought down as well and demolished and taken off site. So we are working through the process now to hire a contractor to replace backstops 3 and 4. So we're scoping that now and hope to have a request for bids out soon. After that, they'll have to work through the permit process. They'll need a building permit and a substantial conformance permit. After that, the actual construction will take place after they fabricate and procure the materials. So more to come when I have a more firm timeline as we approach hiring a contractor. And we're working with the leagues to accommodate them the best that we can. Obviously, we can't do batting practice and things like that out there because those backstops protect cars and people that are in the parking lot or walking by. So they're on modified practices right now. And then additionally, EcoFest is October 9th. Hope everyone can attend that one. I will actually be out of town. And then lastly, I haven't got a chance to update on this, but we have a park host at Cottonwood Creek. His name is Ted. If anybody is at Cottonwood over the next couple days or weeks, please stop by and say hi. Super nice guy. He's been doing a great job. We'll likely see him when we go out and do the tour for the Habitat Stewardship Program, but he's been great, hit the ground running. So that's it for ops. I do have a couple rec-related items. The virtual winter rec guide is in progress. That will go live on December 1st, and registration will begin on December 5th. Our movie in the park coming up on October 15th is at Cottonwood Creek, and the movie is The Bad Guys. And that concludes my report.
May I ask a quick question? When you have something like what happened at Cardiff Sports Park, where does the funding to unexpectedly have to replace that? Where does that come from, and what does that do to subsequent projects in the pipeline?
Sure. That's a good question. And the bureaucratic answer is it depends. So we don't have the bids yet. We do have some estimates. We reached out to contractors to understand what we think this will cost. And so the options are it can come out of our budget. It could also come out of our budget that we use for playground replacements. And if the total ask is so large, then we would need to ask council for direction and appropriations on that.
Okay, so up to a certain point, in the staff, you can decide how to appropriate that money, but if it's beyond what you have available to you, staff has to advise how we appropriate it. Is that correct?
Yes, in addition to our procurement policies.
Okay.
So the department can authorize up to $10,000. The city manager can authorize up to $99,000. After that, we need city council approval.
Okay.
We will need approval for this project. So.
That's a bummer. Okay, thank you.
I have a kind of a follow-up on that same theme. Are there, insurance policies associated with equipment like this? So for example, let's say it was installed faulty, so that you could potentially go back to the contractor or things. Do you explore those types of items, or kind of how do you think about that? And in general, do we have insurance if, playground equipment breaks or things like that break? And how does it work on the municipal level?
So it's worth remembering that those backstops are more than 20 years old. So no warranty is going to stand up to that. The city's self-insured. So when we have incidents or claims, we go through our own insurance. And then if it's at a facility where someone else is an operator, we often have indemnity clauses. So that's kind of how we would work through it. If it's a new construction, those are often covered by warranties of up to 1 year, which is then followed by a manufacturer's warranty depending on the item for a couple of years.
I have another question, if that's okay. At a previous meeting, we had talked about the tennis court at Moonlight Beach and the potential for utilizing that as potentially pickleball, if you recall. And there was some discussion that we had to do some analysis of the stability of the tennis court and the entire property there. Is there any update on what happened with that or where we are with that project?
We are in the process of scoping and hiring a contractor to give us some quotes on at least chasing the cracks that are in there and to determine if that would be a viable short-term solution.
So in the interim, is it still being used currently? Is it open for tennis right now?
It is.
Okay.
And actually, there are pickleball nets
Yeah.
there on that court also. Yep.
Anything else from staff? Is there a director's report or anything?
I covered it all so far.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So efficient. Okay. There are no commission member initiated agenda items. I do not believe there are any future agenda items. Okay. Commissioner Winters, would you like to kick us off a roundtable?
Sure, not much to add. I spoke a lot this meeting, but just to reiterate again that the tour for the recreational services was really great, and I thought everybody learned a lot. I was very impressed with staff and their knowledge of a variety of topics and how they handle a variety of very different types of activities. We've got kids in the ocean, and we've got young kids in parks, and I think we've got a great staff that's doing their best to keep people safe and make sure that they are enjoying all of our natural beauty of our parks and our oceans and our beaches, and really working hard on that front to provide both an affordable, an enjoyable, and a great summer activity. So I was super impressed with that. So that was great. I'm sure the parks tour is going to be equally fantastic. But yeah, so that was just an observation. I was very impressed with how all the different services were able to provide at a really reasonable cost.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. The tour was nice. I think it was good that we had, is it Taylor? That's not, what was his name? Parker and Tracy. They had a lot of information. It was nice. And then we didn't talk about the Seaside Day Camp, but we met some counselors there and the people who run the camp, and that was very informative. I just want to encourage people to go to EcoFest. I think they're looking for volunteers too. And the movie on the 15th, I'm going to try to go, but that's all I have.
I don't have much today. I wanted to say thank you and congratulations to Commissioner Hanson on taking over the leadership of PEP. I look forward to great things from the organization under your leadership. That's all.
I just feel a boatload of pressure now. Actually, I just, off the wall, one of the biggest benefits I've derived from volunteering here is a tour of the parks and the recreation facilities. And our last tour was just so much fun and interactive, and seeing what the city has to offer. And the price that they're offering at is just absurd, but it's just great. And I'd just like to say to you guys, thank you for showing up. And I hope, like some of us, you get the volunteer bug and we're sitting in a seat like this someday. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have much to add other than to thank Manager Norgard for holding down the fort tonight over there. Good job. And a quick question, would it be appropriate if after we close out the meeting, we can stay and be available for a few minutes in case any of our wonderful students have any questions? Would that be okay?
I think we're not supposed to speak outside of the agenda and congregate and hang
I
around.
was afraid of that. I was looking for a ruling. Sorry, guys, I tried.
Okay, so I will also say thank you to staff. It's been a kind of tumultuous couple of years in terms of funding, in terms of staffing, and I think you guys have formed a really nice team, and you've been doing a really great job, and I thank you. It's having the stability on your end has made this entire, I think, process for us much smoother and more productive, and it feels good to be able to go through the work plan and have a lot of things that are moving forward that we've brought to the table. So I thank you and the staff that aren't present as well. I feel like I've been interacting with parks in a very different way over the past few months. Now that I go to the dog park very often, I am using a lot of the sports parks, and I've kind of transitioned from the playgrounds to the parks and to the trails and to the beaches and the camps, and it's really nice that there are so many options provided in the community, and I've just really enjoyed seeing how diverse our offerings are, even within a very small footprint of a community. And I think staff's just done a really great job of managing and maintaining a very diverse group of properties, and through a lot of different funding scenarios, weather scenarios, use scenarios, et cetera. So I just want to say how much I appreciate all that kind of the community has invested into our park infrastructure and how well staff's managing it. I am also looking forward to some of these events that are coming up this fall, especially the holiday parade. So thank you all for your continued dedication and time, and that's all I have to add. So at, oh my gosh, 6:32, we're adjourned. Wow, our new record, yes. Thank you guys for being here, too. I hope it was